Good evening, and welcome to the Houma-Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce's Terrebonne Parish President Forum, live from the Lorraine Falls studio here at HTV. I'm Nicholas Hebert, owner of Allstate, the Hebert Agency, 2023 Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and your moderator for this evening. The purpose of this forum is to help our members and the community become better informed voters so that they can make the best decisions this coming election. In keeping with our mission of uniting community and building a stronger Terrebonne, the Chamber is dedicated and committed to promoting, educating, and advocating for business prosperity and regional economic growth. In preparing for this evening, the Chamber has taken every precaution to ensure that no candidate was shown favoritism or endorsement. Questions were submitted by Chamber members and the public, and all questions were secured by Chamber CEO Nicole Monteville. No candidate had access to the questions prior to the forum, and the order of the candidates was drawn randomly just prior to the start of the event. At this time, I would like to recognize the candidates for Terrebonne Parish President. Following recognition, each will have 90 seconds to introduce himself or herself. We'll begin with Ms. Connie Berg.
Thank you. Thank you for having us today. My name is Connie Berg. I'm a lifelong resident of Terrebonne Parish. I'm married to Lavis J. Berg, Jr. I graduated from South Terrebonne in 1975. I married my husband in 1976. We've been married for 47 years. We have 2 children, Jason, 42, and Katie's, no, wait, got that backwards. Jason's 44 and Katie's 42. They don't live in Terrebonne Parish. They moved on, and that's a disappointment for me. I retired from the U.S. Postal Service. I was a rural mail carrier. After I retired from that, I went to work with my husband at Lavis's Conoco and Lavis's Auto Repair. We ran that until we retired in 2015 when we sold everything and moved to Mountain Home, Arkansas. We wanted to try to be around our son for a little while with our grandchildren. We did that, and 4 years into it, we were homesick. Terribly homesick, and the grandkids wanted to move on with their lives. They had their friends, so we had to let them go and live their lives. So we were so homesick, I said, "You ready to go back to Houma?" And he said, "Yes." So we put it in God's hands, and we put our house up for sale, and within 24 hours, our house was sold, and we were back in Houma. And now that we're back and we're both retired, we are enjoying cleaning up Terrebonne Parish, and I want to continue that mission.
Time. Thank you, Ms. Berg. Our next candidate, Mr. Michael Paul LaRussa.
First, I want to thank the Chamber and HTV for hosting this. Thank everyone viewing here and online. My name is Michael Paul LaRussa. I am a lifelong resident of Houma, Louisiana. I graduated from Vanderbilt Catholic. I'm a father. I have a 13 and a 14-year-old child. And somebody asked me when I first started this campaign, why am I running? Because I'm a father of 2 beautiful children, I am terrified of sending our children to college because they're not going to come back. And that was the best answer I could give because it came from my heart. And if I am elected, you know every day I'll go to work to make this parish a better place. I'm a small business owner. I've spent the last 30 years making the American dream come true. I brought in a lot of economic development projects in this parish. I've been involved through the legislature. I've been involved in the lobbying aspect from the realtor aspect of taking care of property rights. I think we're at a critical time in this parish. If we can, we have one chance to rewrite the wrongs. And I feel that if y'all would hire me to do the job, I think we can make this place a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate, Ms. Krista DePlanis-Prather.
Thank you, and I want to thank HTV and also the Chamber for having this event tonight. I am Krista DePlanis-Prather. I'm born and raised in Terrebonne Parish, and I graduated from LSU School of Nursing with an associate's degree as well as a baccalaureate degree. I have been working as a nurse for over 30 years, and I am presently working for the Auctioner Health System. I am married to Charles Prather. And I began serving the great people of Terrebonne Parish since 1996. I have been elected 5 terms in 2 different districts and serving with 5 different parish presidents. I want Terrebonne to grow and thrive, not just to survive. I'm the person that has the record to run on. Day 1, I can start working. There's no learning curves, no training necessary. I have heard you. I have listened, and now I know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate, Ms. Aranda Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aranda Smith, and I'm born and raised in Houma, Louisiana. My family's from Gibson, Louisiana. Later on, my mom and I moved to the west side of Houma. I'm a graduate of Terrebonne High School, 1987. Go Tigers. Just want to throw that out there. I served in the United States Army. I'm also a Desert Storm veteran. I served in Desert Storm as a medic. I have an associate degree in business administration. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. I have a master's degree in organizational dynamics with 3 master's certifications, all around organizational leadership. I want to list all of them. The reason why I'm running, change. And I know change is one of those things that is very subjective. So let me clarify that by saying that the change that I want to see is more of a collaborative effort in our community. When we have disasters here, we all rise to the occasion. I'll give an example. My neighbor, right? At the time, I had a young kid living with me, and the little kid had asthma. Immediately, my generator went out, and I went and talked to my neighbor, and he gladly gave me some power so we can have the generator run. But I want to make sure that we realize that we are a community, and to get where we need to get, we're going to have to operate as a community. That means nonprofits, that means citizens. We're going to all have to come together to get where we want to get in this community. What got us here is not going to get us there. I can promise you that. We're going to have to do something different to get us where Terrebonne Parish can thrive for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Mr. Jason Bergeron.
My name is Jason Bergeron. I'm a servant organizational leader. I'm innovative. When I see something that's broken, I get in and fix it. And you tell me, if you want me to do something, tell me I can't. I envision a Terrebonne where residents are safe, where infrastructure is sound, where communities are vibrant, where government's responsive, and where opportunities are within reach for all of us. If you think we don't need change and you think everything's been great for the last 10 years, let's just keep doing what we've been doing. But if you're ready for something different, if you're ready for government to be run differently, if you're ready for efficiencies that can be found in government, that can then take those funds and do other projects with them, you vote for me. Because I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna work my butt off. I'm gonna get the right people in the room, and we're gonna have conversations, and we're gonna resolve issues. And I'm gonna hit the ground running. I've been working and leading organizations. For example, the chamber that's holding this today, thank you for having this. I led that organization. I led Crime Stoppers. I led Relief for Life. I led Corinthians. Every time I get into an organization, I rise to the top, I lead that organization, and I take that organization to the next level. It's the same thing I do as a business owner in the 4 businesses I currently have and the thousands of companies I help every day. I help those companies become more efficient, more profitable, more productive. And we do it with and without technology. We figure out what the best way is, we solve the pain, and we eat the elephant one bite at a time. Thank you.
Our next candidate, Mr. Darren Guidry.
Thank you very much. My name is Darren Guidry. I'm a conservative, a lifelong Republican, and a candidate for Terrebonne Parish President. I'm married to Pamela Mathern from Berg. We have 2 children and 2 adorable grandchildren. I'm a councilman, 2nd term on the Terrebonne Parish Council. For the previous 2 years, served as council chairman. Prior to that, I served on the Terrebonne Levy and Conservation District for 8 years. And prior to that, I served as the chamber's appointment to the Terrebonne Economic Development Foundation, or TEDA, Terrebonne Economic Development Authority. I understand economic development. I understand flood protection, and I understand parish government. I see the things that we've accomplished in the last 8 years, but more importantly, I see the things that need to be done. And really, I don't think we can't leave it in the hands of somebody less experienced. It's just way too important. There's certain things that we need to do in the very first year of this new presidency that if we don't do certain things, I'm very afraid for the future of Terrebonne Parish. You know, we have a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. I understand these issues, and I'm ready to tackle them. I can, on day one, begin making Terrebonne Parish where it needs to be for the future. If not, I am afraid the future is going to be bleak. Please vote Darren Guidry.
Thank you. And our final candidate this evening, Mr. Roy Chauvin.
My name is Roy Chauvin, and if you don't know that, well, I didn't do my job yet. I'm one of the only candidates here that does say what the other candidates don't want to say. I am their voice, more or less, to what they don't say. And that translates into honesty or transparency. I'm the only candidate that has exposed some of the problems that we had with other candidates. That has transpired, that transposes into justice. I'm the only candidate that speaks for the people who have no voice. Many people don't feel they have a voice, and that's called democracy. Honesty, justice, democracy. That's what I stand for, and I'm not going to change. Honestly, don't know what my number is, so vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Before we get to questions, it is important to note the rules for the forum this evening. Each candidate has pulled a number to determine who will go first in answering questions and the corresponding seating order. For the odd number questions, each candidate will be given the same question and have 90 seconds to answer the question posed. As an example, questions 1, 3, 5, and all odd numbers we get to thereafter will go to the candidates sitting in the corresponding chair position, being given the first opportunity to respond. We will then proceed down the line, increasing in chair position until all candidates have responded or been given the opportunity to respond. For the even number questions, the candidate in the seat corresponding to the question will be given 90 seconds to answer that question. As an example, question number 2 will go to the candidate seated in chair 2. If any other candidate wishes to respond in rebuttal, he or she should raise a hand and will be acknowledged by the moderator. We will do our best to acknowledge rebuttals in the order in which the hands are raised. Each candidate will be given 2 rebuttals, and once exhausted, no further rebuttals will be acknowledged for that candidate. At the end of the forum, each candidate will have 90 seconds for closing comments. The timer will start once the candidate starts speaking. Each candidate and our audience here today are expected to respect the candidate answering the question and allow him or her to answer the question without interruption. I encourage and expect that every candidate will conduct himself or herself in a respectful manner, and no personal attacks of any kind will be tolerated this evening. We will have a civil, productive forum on a variety of topics this evening. If a candidate does not follow these rules, the candidate will be given a warning. If at a point it becomes clear that a candidate will not abide by this evening's rules, he or she will be asked to leave. Please remember, for our audience members here today, no taping of any kind will be tolerated or allowed. The right to taping and filming is expressly reserved by HTV, our co-sponsor and host this evening. Now that's it for our do's and our don'ts, and we'll get right into our first question for Ms. Connie Berg and all candidates thereafter. Recent polling indicates that the number one issue for voters in Terrebonne Parish is rising insurance premiums and availability of insurance. What do you say to those voters who are faced with homeowner premiums at all-time highs, increasing automotive insurance rates, and potentially unaffordable flood insurance premiums?
Yes, it's a concern of mine also. I have to pay for all 3 of those also. Since we're going to have a new insurance commissioner, I'm really hoping that we can get together with him and really work out some issues to where he can attract some new companies to come to Louisiana. We have got to work together with them. We also have to have building code enforcements for our buildings, so that way insurance companies will want to come down here and write policies. It's all about risk and risk management. They're not going to come down here if they know they're going to be at risk 100% all of the time. They want to make sure that our buildings are sound and our flooding is under control. And I think if we can convince them and show them that we have the building codes in place and the flooding under control, we'll get more companies to come down here and write. But also I'd like to see them, if they don't want to write wind and hail and they just want to write auto insurance in Terrebonne Parish, I say pack your bags and leave. You're not just going to take a piece of the pie. You're going to have the whole pie or you're not going to have no pie. Because a lot of these companies do that. They stay here and just write auto insurance, but they won't write homeowners. Well, that's not right. You're going to write it all, or you're not going to work here at all. Also, I agree with the auto insurance is the same thing. It's out of sight. We're going to have, I know the lawyers are not going to like this, but we're going to have some kind of tort reform.
Tom.
Thank you.
Same question, Mr. LaRussa. Oh, this one goes down the line, so everybody, no rebuttal hands needed. Mr. LaRussa.
18 years ago, a group of citizens came together, led by Mr. False, time for action, and we fought for levies, and Blanco brought the first $10 million down. Starting day one, we need to cry, scream, holler, do whatever we can do, because this is our number one priority. How can you bring economic development down? Fix the insurance. What cares if we have roads if nobody's here to live? That is the top priority of this next administration. Some people say, well, the parish president can't do much. That's BS. We can do a lot. Number one, this administration is in a lawsuit right now with FEMA to fight FEMA 2.0. I've talked to many governor candidates, the new insurance commissioner, and a couple other statewide public officials and Senate chairman of insurance. Couple ideas. They want to create a wind pool. Wind pool, Texas, Florida, Mississippi has it. It's the insurance, the underwriting insurance of the wind pool. Everybody in the state will pay into it. Then they can reinsure it. We have to think out the box. It's just not Terrebonne. It's the whole state of Louisiana. But we need to unite, and it becomes the number one priority of this next administration, because without insurance relief, we will not have a town. Thank you.
Ms. Krista DePlanis, Prather, same
Thank
question.
you. Thank you. As your parish president, I will be the voice of the people. I will work with our delegation in Baton Rouge and our congressional delegation and the insurance commissioner. We also need to look and possibly create insurance reform so we can see how we can make it more affordable. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight, but we're gonna have to all work together and get this done. Because if we don't, we're gonna have people that are gonna have to leave Terrebonne Parish because they can't afford to live here. Everything from our taxes to insurance rates, everything's going up. I talked to quite a few people today as I was walking. That was the number one thing. What are you gonna do? And I said, well, it's gonna be a team. It's not just the parish president. We have to all come together, from the delegation in Baton Rouge, delegation in DC, as well as our insurance commissioner. So hopefully the people will get out and vote for the right insurance commissioner that's going to fight and help us get those rates down. Thank you.
Ms. Rhonda Smith, next, same question.
So I think all those are great ideas, but people are suffering financial hardship as a result of the insurance rates right now. The delegation approach, it is time. Just like I said all the time, bureaucracy is a process and it does take time. But we got people suffering right now in terms of insurance rate. So my approach to that may be a little bit more radical. I think that our governor, should impose a state of emergency. When I looked up state of emergency and what can be imposed, one of the things, of course, we know about something, civil unrest in those instances when we use the National Guard or something like that. But it also covers hardships as well. So I think that we need to take a look at something outside of the box. We need something more immediate for people. So when we're telling you as a homeowner, give us some time to work with the delegation and give some time to do some other things. We need some immediate results right now as it relates to insurance rates. And I think that needs to come from the governor. I think we need some financial assistance from the state to help folks here in our community with rates. I'm talking about Terrebonne Parish. We need something sooner than later to happen. We've done a considerable amount of work. This current administration, I think most of us in the room can agree, there's a lot of work that's been done. We've raised levees and we've done some drainage projects. We got Morganza to the Gulf. We have a lot of things that we've done here, but it's still not enough. Until the bureaucracy catches up, we need to do something for the people immediately.
Mr. Bergeron, same question.
So, when all this conversation about fighting and everything else that I hear, for insurance and what the parish president can or can't do, I want to make sure everybody understands the facts. So 4 things affect the insurance. Number one is our new insurance commissioner, who I've had a working relationship for the last 2 years on a Committee 100. And we've had conversations around the fact of, why can't we take all the school districts in the state, combine them into one plan, and get more insurance for the same amount of money? He's like, that's a great idea. So look at the fact that he's going to take office because he is the insurance commissioner-elect. They're going to have a special session. They need to work on things like tort reform. We're a very litigious state. One of the problems insurance companies has is that you get sued a lot. And so that's one of the things we need to look at. The second thing is that no storms. At the end of the day, the longer we get away from a storm, the more opportunities we have. Insurance companies will come into play. And then you look at the fact that we just accepted the FEMA flood maps. Now that that's done, we're going to do what's called a LOMAR, and we're going to recognize the levees and the pumps and everything. That process takes 6 to 18 months. And so through that whole process, when you look at the fact that we're suing FEMA, in the court session this past week with FEMA, they said it is not the government's responsibility to offer affordable insurance. And the judge had to make a comment that says, in people being homelessness, irreparable harm. So to me, we have to hold those accountable because our legislation is fighting for it. A delegation, the congressional delegation is working their butts off.
Time.
We got to convince the rest of the state, rest of the country.
Time. Mr. Guidry, same question.
Insurance is very important. It's really hurting our economy. It's hurting our people. There's 3-point plan of what we need to do to help improve insurance. First of all, we have our wind and hail insurance. We have to reform that. I know there's going to be a special session being called by the new insurance commissioner, Tim Tibble. And what I want to do is work together with my neighboring parishes. I want to meet with Matt Jewell in St. Charles. I want to talk to Archie Chasson in Lafourche. I want to talk to whoever gets elected in St. Mary Parish. I want to build a coalition. And I want us to go and lobby in Baton Rouge to make sure that our voices are heard locally. We need to do things like if they're writing wind and hail in Louisiana, they write wind and hail all over Louisiana. They can't say they're not writing south of I-10, or they can't say they're not writing south of the Intercoastal. They need to write all of Louisiana. And if the state allows companies to exclude certain areas, and those areas are excluded, then maybe Louisiana needs to look at changing its laws concerning Louisiana citizens. Right now, it's 10% above the highest in a rate in that particular area. Well, if insurers are excluding south of the Intercoastal, then maybe we should eliminate that 10%. Those are some of the things we look at with wind and hail. Now let's look at flood protection, or actually I'm running out of time for flood protection, but we've already sued the state of Louisiana, or sued FEMA over our flood protection, over risk rating 2.0, and we're going to sue them over our flood maps as well.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. And finally, Mr. Chauvin.
We've been victims of, we're a political hostage, more or less, in rhetoric and it's all Washington, D.C. I don't think there's much we can do as an individual parish. We're just a few people in South Louisiana fighting for our lives, fighting for our houses. And Washington, I just listened to Senator Kennedy the other day at a function in Houma, and he said that FEMA is a puppet of the president. The president could make a phone call, he said, to FEMA and stop all of this nonsense. Now, how do you fight Washington? It's very difficult to fight Washington when you have people that don't care. And we're just a small minority of people down here. You think the people in North Louisiana, they're not in the flood zone. They don't care about us. So the state politicians are not in the same set of circumstances. They don't care about us either. I don't know the answer to this flood crisis. They talk about we got to get our levees to 21 feet. Then FEMA's going to recognize us a levee. Then they'll come up with something else, I'm sure. And what it's going to do, it is going to force people out of the parish. It's going to force devastation on us, which the Category 10 hurricane can't come up with. And we have to try to somehow come up with a plan, and I don't know what it is right now, to change things from a local standpoint and make sure that the rhetoric is not there, political rhetoric, and that we do what we're supposed
Time.
to do.
Thank you, candidates. Our second question, and remember, even questions directed to the candidate in the seat, and then opportunity for rebuttal, simply raise your hand to be recognized. So question 2, directed to Mr. Michael Paul LaRussa. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's 2022 survey, Terrebonne Parish has the third largest population loss in the country, 3.9% to be exact. Do you see this as a reversible trend? And if so, how do you plan to change it?
Some of those numbers are a little skewed because after a major hurricane, everybody loses population. But it goes back to the first question. Insurance. Until we get insurance rates down and affordable, there's nothing we can do to increase. How can you recruit a company when you can't even get employees to live in this parish? Everything circles back to insurance. And that is why it has to be the biggest priority out there. We can recruit anybody in the world to come into Houma, but if they can't get employees to afford to live in here, it's tough. It's hard for our own businesses to retain until, we're in the real estate business. We're losing deals every day because of insurance. So, there's not a magic solution to build population. It is the economy. As this parish grew because of our economy. And the only way we're going to grow our economy, the first step is to get us some insurance relief, parish-wide, statewide, from everyone. Other than that, I'm not sure how we build this economy up, because the average person, when their insurance rates are higher than their insurance notes are higher than their mortgage notes, it's impossible to live down.
Thank you. Any rebuttal? All right, seeing no rebuttal, we'll move on to question 3. Back down the line, all candidates have a chance to answer. This one is for Ms. Krista DePlantis-Prather. The parish is near completion of its master plan for Terrebonne Parish and downtown Houma, and potential funding sources have been identified to assist with revitalization and recovery efforts. As parish president, what are your top 3 projects to lead the revitalization of downtown Houma?
Well, the first thing, we definitely have to take care of the road, and that's a state road. So we have to get that fixed and talk with the DODT in the state to get that done, as well as the governor to get our road done. And actually, we talked about the parish taking that road on and having it not be a truck route, and get the truck route to go in a different direction so we can fix the parking and have, instead of, I think it's 2 ways, 2 lanes, maybe have parking on one side and just have 1 lane to revitalize downtown on that way. We need to look at some of the buildings that we have, and we need to renovate them, fix them, and get our downtown back to where it looked before we had the devastation from the hurricane, and also possibly make our downtown kind of like, I think it's in some of the areas, I think in Mississippi, a downtown to where you can have little businesses where we can walk and shop, and also have little delis, and bring it back to a family-oriented downtown and a safe downtown. So it would be a combination of fixing the roads, getting the buildings and the infrastructure down in downtown done, as well as kind of changing it up. Thank you.
Same question, Ms. Smith.
So in terms of downtown, so I would love to see a grocery store. I was sitting out on downtown in the courthouse square one day. So a gentleman came by and he said, where's the closest supermarket? And I said, well, you're not close to any around here. So he was staying, I think, in a B&B or something nearby. So I would love to see a grocery store. We need something in downtown that's sustainable. So we do pretty good at having the different festivals and fairs in that area, but we need something sustainable. So a grocery store would have an influx of traffic all the time, instead of just having the traffic when we're having the fairs and festivals. But in terms of the fairs and festivals as well, we just have to be mindful who we're attracting. Most of the time when I go, I see people around my age group. So I don't see too many millennials or maybe the Gen X, some of the younger folks, and be mindful that that age group has a 9 to 20, from 9-year-old to 24-year-old age group as well. So we need to make sure that we're attracting people from different age groups. We got the waterway right there. So some of those businesses, hopefully they can back up to the waterway and we can take advantage of that. That's part of our culture, the bayou. That's who we are. So if we can start to cultivate some of those things like that into downtown, certainly I think it would be more attractive to people that are visiting this area. Foot traffic. So we need things that's going to start a little bit more foot traffic. And I know we have a lot of professional buildings, professional folks downtown. It's been like that for some time. We got lawyers and some other professional folks that have businesses in our downtown area. So we need to think about having some other types of businesses there for foot traffic.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron, same question.
So one of the first things we need to do is we need to update some ordinances. We still have an ordinance that you can't tie your horse up downtown. So when you look at that, you look at our vagrancy ordinance that is unconstitutional. I'm looking at holding business owners and building owners accountable. So if you look at Opelousas, you look at Lafayette, you look at Lower Mississippi, you look at Ocean Springs, Mississippi, Huntsville, Alabama, you should go down the list, Fairhope. They have implemented stuff that holds owners accountable. You have to come up with a plan for your building within a certain amount of time. You got to implement that plan within a certain amount of time. In certain cases, if you don't do that, the facade of your building's taken over by the downtown group and it's made to look better. So once we start making the buildings look better, we got to do infrastructure. We got to make the roads. You know, once we taken over the road, the state's going to overlay it, but we still got to go under it and repair infrastructure. We try to tie a building into it, build a new building. You're going to spend $30,000, $60,000 trying to tie into infrastructure that nobody knows where everything is. So we're going to map all that out. We're going to make sure that if somebody's going to invest in downtown, that there's incentives, that there's opportunities, that we try to clear as many hurdles for them. We help them be successful, but at the same time, hold those accountable. And we got to have access to our waterway. We're Louisiana's bayou country. We can't even get in the bayou. So we got to do things like a better boardwalk, kayak launches, other things that we could do, paddle races, things that bring people to downtown, to the bayou, but you got to make it look good because the studies show people won't buy a rundown building and fix it up. You got to get it ready to go where they come in, they jump in, hit the ground running.
Thank you. Mr. Guidry, same question.
Yeah, as Parish Council Chairman last year, I attended the National Association of Counties, and I specifically went to all the sessions in economic development. And one of the things that our downtown lacks is a boutique hotel. We need something to bring people downtown. And a boutique hotel, people, if they go to a conference, they don't necessarily want to stay at Holiday Inns anymore. They want to stay at a bed and breakfast or a boutique hotel, a small hotel with, 50, 60 rooms. If we create that downtown, then we're instantly dumping 100 and something people every evening downtown, which helps our restaurants and bars. And then we have a major incentive downtown that we need to promote to people, and that is a tax abatement program, which that means that you can take an old building and you can renovate that building, and that old building will stay assessed at the original assessment before the building was renovated. So you could put $1 million in a building and pay the assessment as though it's an old building. The problem is it costs so much money to remodel an old building, people didn't see that as a great incentive. Well, now some of these buildings have been torn down, they're vacant land. They're being reassessed as vacant land. So now somebody could come and invest $5 million, $3 million. They could build retail on the bottom. They can build offices on the second floor, apartments on the third floor, and they can pay taxes as though it's vacant land for 10 years. Now we got an incentive. We can take that money that might be invested in Martin Luther King. Now we can invest it in downtown and revitalize our downtown. That's an option we need to promote.
Thank you. Mr. Chauvin, same question.
I think what we need to do is we need to take advantage of the valuable resources that we have. Bayou Terrebonne is one of the main blood flows of Houma, Louisiana. If you look at that bayou, it is deplorable. It is horrible. It's my understanding we did have some money to fix the canal, but there were other problems that caused the canal not to be fixed. By fixing, I mean, you need to clean out all the trash out of the canal and make it presentable. Our parish is not presentable. It looks terrible. And we live by the water and we're gonna die by the water. Another thing, we need to come up with something innovative. I don't know if y'all all remember the Fado Dough they had down the bar with in Chauvin with the St. Joseph Festival every year. That festival alone from that small Catholic parish brought in over 100,000 people. That's because the people wanted to see what Cajun culture was all about. They wanted to see the old ladies in the hats and the old dresses and the good Cajun food. We need to exploit the Cajun people and our culture to show it to the world. And we have to do stuff like that. Think out of the oil industry is in terrible shape. We're not going to see anything in there for a long time to come, I don't think. So you can forget about that. Infrastructure, yeah, fix the roads, do this, do that. But I think our people are the ones who need to be shown to the world. And I think that would help.
Time.
Pretty good.
Thank you. Ms. Bird, same question.
All right. My hot topic. I had a business. Well, my husband and I had a business downtown. My father-in-law took over that business in 1973. So we've been downtown for a long time. I looked at buying this building before Martin did. I wanted to make it a boutique hotel. Well, it fell through. We didn't do it. We thought about it, but we backed out of it, and Martin wound up buying it right behind me, which thank you, Martin, for doing something with the DuPont's building. I have been trying to revitalize downtown for decades, trying to decorate, trying to get people to do stuff. And we have a downtown development team, but it seems like they talk, but nothing ever gets done. Well, that's why I'm running for parish president, because I'm ready to see some action, not just words. Downtown is a disgrace. We have buildings that are pitiful. We need to hold these landowners responsible for their buildings. Government cannot do anything downtown. It's the landowners that have to do it. But the government can make them responsible for their land. They can't just hold on to a piece of property to say, well, I own a piece downtown. I own some property. Well, big deal. Cut your grass and make your building look nicer for people to come down to. And I see downtown being more of a festival type situation to draw more people downtown for our restaurants and activities for our Cajun culture.
Thank you. And our final candidate on this question, Mr. Michael Paul LaRusso.
Well, being in the real estate business for 30 years, and property owner, we used to have La Poste restaurant downtown. You need foot traffic. Businesses aren't going to come just because you have a bakery. They're not going to come. You got to have housing downtown. Just like we did with the Civic Center property with the hotel, the parish put it out RFQ, and the best proposal came, and they built the hotel, and we gave them sold them the property on that. We have enough CBDG opportunity grants where we can put a lot of housing downtown. When you put the housing, the retail will come. Walmart, grocery stores, they're not coming downtown without the foot traffic. That's number one. Number two, I'm a kid at heart. So I pledge from day one, we will create downtown the day after Thanksgiving to make it look like the Natchitoches of the South. There's no reason downtown should not be like the Natchitoches of South Louisiana. We will professionally light downtown up, the bayous up, and then that might stem some investment for bed and breakfasts and businesses like that. We should have a festival every weekend after Thanksgiving to draw tourism down. If you ask yourself, what is a tourism attraction in Houma? I went to a hotel the other day and they had all those brochures, 200 brochures, 2 businesses in Houma. What is it? And what attracts the businesses?
Tom.
That's one of my options. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a brief break. We got to pay some bills here at HTV. Make sure the lights stay on, but stay tuned and join us for our next session.
I'm Darren Guidry. I'm a conservative, a lifelong Republican, and a candidate for parish president. 8 years on the Terrebonne Parish Council, 8 years on the Terrebonne Levy and Conservation District, and 6 years on the Terrebonne Economic Development Authority. This is the proven experience I bring as your parish president to start working for you on day one. Please vote Darren Guidry, parish president in October, so I can go to work for you.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
It's not about the flood. It's the flood insurance premiums crushing our families. When premiums are higher than mortgages, how can we rebuild when no one can afford to live here? Flood insurance programs should be priced appropriately, based on actual risk. Our new levy systems are working. Insurers need to reduce premiums based on the facts and stop jacking their profits and deserting us.
Michael Paul LaRussa, fighting big insurance to save our parish.
You gotta try this. And some of those. Ooh, and definitely that. You won't be disappointed, but just know you can only get it here. Up and down Louisiana's Cajun Bayou in Lafourche Parish. Y'all come visit? We're just 35 miles south of New Orleans. Hungry? Let's eat!
I'm Robert Allen. I'm running for state senate because I believe we can build a better Louisiana for the next generation. I intend to use what I've learned as a farmer, an entrepreneur, and as a father to keep our traditional values at the forefront. I will work to make insurance more affordable, support our law enforcement, and grow our economy. I'm Robert Allen, and I'm asking for your vote because I know we can build a better future for your children and mine.
Welcome back to our Terrebonne Parish President's Forum here at HTV. Our next question is question number 4, so it will be directed to Ms. Aranda Smith. The parish president often represents Terrebonne Parish in efforts to recruit new businesses and to retain current businesses. What are your thoughts on incentivizing businesses to do business in Terrebonne Parish? What do you envision the Terrebonne Economic Development Authority's role in those endeavors to be?
So first of all, I know we have TITA, and TITA does a pretty good job of making sure that we get other businesses into Terrebonne Parish. But as a part of that also, I think one of the things that needs to happen, my background is in people and processes. I think we need to understand that it doesn't matter what business that we attract to Terrebonne Parish, we need the people to work those businesses. So we have to try to create spaces where we can have at least focus groups or some way to interact with the citizens of Terrebonne Parish to find out what do they need in terms of workforce development. I think the easiest part is to get the businesses here sometimes. I know there's sometimes challenges with businesses that do not want to come here because of hurricanes and those situations that we have here that's more common to us geographically. But certainly I think we have to create spaces in terms of workforce development and bringing businesses here. We have to make sure that we have the personnel and the people willing to do the job. I always use the example. I can go over to wherever and talk to a company and they say, hey, we're going to give you a contract to create widgets. So I get the contract, I'm the politician, and it looks great for me. Yeah, I got new businesses here, and we're gonna make $1 million, and we're gonna create widgets. But then I bring the business here, nobody wants to create widgets. So we're not gaining anything by doing that. So the way to thrive is by getting people to thrive. We have to get people involved. We have to get nonprofits involved. Like I say that all the time. We have to find out what the people's needs are before we start bringing in the industries. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Guidry for rebuttal.
Yeah, economic development has changed. It used to be that companies wanted cheap labor. Now they want available labor. It used to be they wanted incentives, but now they want cooperation. So what can TITA do with government? Well, TITA can make sure that when we're talking to these entities and to locate in Terrebonne Parish, that they have an ease of operation, building, and getting into business. TITA can help facilitate their permit process to make sure that everything that they have to do to deal with government is done smoothly and efficiently, and that's what these companies are looking for. Why is TITA important? Well, TITA is kind of hands-off of parish government. It's created by the state of Louisiana. It's appointed by the parish council, but it is a separate entity. And these businesses like to deal with entities that are hands-off of local government because they don't want to end up into the politics of it. And so what we need from TITA is we need TITA to go out, sell our businesses, but also when they agree to locate here, or when they want to locate here, let them know that they will have a conduit to help them get through the quagmire that can often be local government and that they experience with other local governments, and we want to assure them they're not going to experience with Terrebonne Parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Our next rebuttal is Mr. LaRussa.
If I'm elected, I have a different philosophy in economic development. I want to work with the companies that chose Houma, Louisiana. I want to help them expand their business. Sometimes we go throw stupid money at companies and give them all these incentives, and we don't give our own local companies the same incentive. I've brought that philosophy to several of our clients, and they feel that it would help them expand the business. Number two, we have one of the top 10 global economies in the world next door to us, Texas. We have we have cheap natural gas. We have great shipbuilders. We have great welders, machine shops. We need to open up that Texas economy and go up there and get some of our business to help them. Number three, the port. We have to keep dredging the Houma Nav. I've talked to a shipbuilder down there. He goes up to New York. They don't think our channel is deep enough, and they think it's like 7 feet. We need to keep it dredged. Number four, the airport. The airport is the second largest people moving airport outside of New Orleans, is in Houma, Louisiana. We need to keep growing that economy, the drone programs. We have a great heliport, and we just need to keep and help the companies that chose Houma grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next rebuttal is Ms. DePlantis-Prather.
Okay, we need to work with our existing, well, you don't hear me. We need to work better with the existing industries that we do have right now and improving our infrastructure. And we have better incentives. We need to ensure that we are meeting the needs of them locally here, yet to be more accountable to the people in this parish. We have an excellent, it was said, our airport and our port, and we have the potential, and we need to strengthen our economy if we boost their presence. We need to look at that port that we have, because that's industry that can come in, and we can utilize that, as well as our airport. We are growing every day with our airport, and we have to see about industries coming in here. Also, we need to promote manufacturing jobs. I know one time, years ago, they thought about bringing the recycling. It was a recycling with plastics. We need to look at that. We need to maybe have Amazon, a distribution here. And the big thing is, how are we going to get people to come to this parish if we don't clean it up? I think that's what we're having a problem with. The people come here, they go down LA 182, and they want to turn back and go back home. We have to make it more clean for industry that want to come here. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further rebuttals, we'll move on to question number 5. This one is for Mr. Bergeron. The bayou communities of Terrebonne Parish rely on their population as a tax base for community services and infrastructure. Data has shown a trend that residents are moving out of the bayou areas, thereby reducing this tax base. In light of this issue, what are your plans as parish president to address this problem, and how do you plan to prepare the bayou communities for the next decade?
So it's interesting, through all the conversations that I've been involved with recreation in the past, this is a topic that's keep coming up. And the other day I was in a conversation, and what really recreation reform, if you say, was about, was really more about tax reform. And so when I look at tax reform and I look at how much money we're collecting, there's a few interesting stats, and I heard this earlier today, that we're the highest taxed in the nation. So from a property perspective, we're 42nd in the state, which means there are 41 other parishes higher than us. When you look at sales taxes, there are 18 parishes higher than us. We're tied for 14th with other parishes, and we have 10 parishes that are within a half-cent sales tax. So when we talk about taxes, we're middle of the road or at the bottom in most cases. And that's where I feel like efficiency comes into play. When I look at efficiencies and being able to take money that we're spending now and spend that money more efficiently and reduce waste, then you could do more with less. And so we're gonna have conversations with the communities, and we're gonna talk about, what does it look like in the next 5 years? What does it look like in the next 10 years? Where is your community going? And what can we do as a community to compound and to fight that? And that's what we gotta do. We gotta get people involved. We gotta have conversations. We gotta fix issues one at a time and help each community get back on its feet. And that's why I look at a community outreach department to go in these communities and figure out what resources they need and help them get back on their feet.
Thank you. Mr. Guidry, same question.
Yeah, the tax base in the bayou communities is definitely taking a hit, especially after the storm. We do need to look at, things are kind of transitioning down the bayou, and I think they can kind of tell you that, a lot of properties are being converted into camp properties. You have a lot of money coming into the bayou, but it's not staying in the bayou. We also, I'm learning some of our ad valorem taxes that we charge on camps per square footage is different than houses. So we're actually losing a lot of tax collection that we're receiving from the bayou. I think if we fairly assessed square footages of properties, I think the bayou would probably show an increase in tax revenue. So we need to look at those sorts of things. We also need to invest in some quality of life, not only in the city of Houma, but also in the bayou communities. I've been pushing, I would love to see more fishing piers. There's a lot of people who would live in the city who don't own boats, but would love an opportunity to fish. Now, I know it's great to fish in the Bayou Country Sports Park, but people want to fish out for redfish. They want to fish. Why not have a pier that goes out into the water rather than having people risking their lives in Boudreaux Canal on the rocks fishing for fish? Let's build them a pier. It could also be a tourist thing. If we start getting people to the bayou communities, I think we can increase the revenues and help save our bayous. We need to do that, and we need to do it now.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Chauvin, same question.
Well, along those lines, what we need to do is build things just like Darren just said about, we need to exploit the resources that we do have. And what we do have is abundant fishing. We have recreation. We have everything that we need to have. However, we don't have one thing that attracts industry and everything else, and that's education. Education in this parish is pretty bad. And it makes it tough to change things if education is not at its top notch. We have a 19% dropout rate in Terrebonne Parish, and several others that aren't in the parish, aren't in the education system, that are not dropouts, but they finish the school system, and they can't read or write, a lot of them. They can't make change without a computer. Without a better whole system, a whole evaluation system, I would like to see some kind of beach in Terrebonne Parish. We don't have any beaches in Louisiana. Build a beach somewhere. Take some of the rocks that we're wasting on Eugene Charles Road right now. There's a levee of 7-foot tall rocks on a road that goes to nowhere. That we told the people to get off the island, and now we're maintaining a road that doesn't go anywhere. There's one person left on the island. One person.
Time. Thank you. Ms. Berg, same question.
Can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. And candidates, some of these questions are kind of lengthy. If anybody needs anything repeated, just let me know. The bayou communities of Terrebonne Parish rely on their population as a tax base for community services and infrastructure. Data has shown a trend that residents are moving out of the bayou area, thereby reducing this tax base. In light of this issue, what are your plans as parish president to address this problem, and how do you plan to prepare the bayou communities for the next decade?
All right. Well, since I'm from the bayou, I grew up on Upper Locaia. The people that I grew up with have gone. The majority of them have all gone from the bayou. The bayou is nothing like it was when I was growing up. But what we do have is an influx of out-of-towners who have come down there, and we're their playground. They build these beautiful camps down there, and I would like to know what kind of property taxes they're paying down there, because I don't think they're paying their fair share of property tax. I think that would be a big boost to our revenue if they started paying their fair share, because they come down here and have a good time and fish, and at the expense of the people who actually live down there can't afford to live down there because their insurance is outrageous. But we have people coming from Baton Rouge, New Orleans, all these high rollers come in and they can't wait to stay in Cocodrie or Dulac and have a good time. So I think we need to broaden our tax base down there so that way we can get more revenue in for people to be able to live down there. But until we get our insurance in order for people to live down there, because I know most of my family doesn't live down there anymore. So we have to get insurance under control so these people can stay down there, because most of the people that live there don't even have insurance because they can't afford it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berg. Mr. LaRussa, same question.
When on the campaign trail, somebody asked, how do you build the bayous back? Insurance, 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 100%. However, 20 years ago, I was hearing that the seafood industry was dying. Now they're on a lifeline. Our shrimpers are dying. And if I'm elected from day one, I will put every resource available behind the shrimping industry. Instead of raising taxes and all this, hey, we're going to build their industry back. We have more shrimp imported in cold storages than the nation can consume. More shrimp in the cold storage than the nation can consume. They're dying in a vine. I will put our legal department. We will pass ordinances to help them on a local level. We will lobby, put all our resources behind them on the state level and the federal level, because they just not shrimpers. I have a friend of mine that has a Napa store in Locaia. 90% of his business is not vehicles. It's shrimpers. It's the seafood market. They don't know anything else but to do seafood. Was at a shrimper's house the other day. He was waiting from NOAA. They were doing a grant with him to test out new TEDs. If he didn't have that, he couldn't go out and use and go shrimping because he couldn't pay the bills to go off with the fuel. Seafood, 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 and we will put all our resources behind them.
Thank you. Mr. Planus Prather.
Thank you. I'm glad that question came up because the East Side has been forgotten. And we do need to build it up. And by doing that, we have a gold mine, the Air Base. We need to have a Bayou Sports Park for the East Side. We need recreation for people on that side of town, of the intercoastal. How you keep the residents of the bayous is they need resources. They need the same resources as the West Side has. And also, if the land is being lost, we need to make sure and continue building up the land so they have a place to live. Also, in the on the air base, everybody keeps talking about the rodeo. When is there going to be the rodeo back on the East Side? That would bring so much money to Terrebonne Parish if we tear down that agricultural building and that complex that they have for the rodeo, fix the sewerage, the drainage, and have a top-notch rodeo facility that's covered. Have our lieutenant governor, whoever it's going to be, get some monies for tourism to get that here. That way we can fill all of our hotels with the people that come here, bring that tax rate up. They're spending money here, having rodeos here. Thank you.
Final candidate on this question, Ms. Smith.
So what I thought about, I think the question really was about tax reduction. So what do we do about that? So one of the things that came to mind was our college students. So I think someone mentioned that earlier. So each time the student leaves, they graduate college, they leave, the tax revenue leaves with them. And also the family structure leaves with them as well. And we're about family here. But as it relates to the question, the tax reduction, when our kids leave, the tax revenue leaves. So we have a reduction in taxes. So we have to work with Nicholls State University, Fletcher College, Teeter, and some citizens from within our communities. We always tend to leave out our citizens where we don't have give them opportunity to have a voice in what's going on in their community, because government is the people. It's all about the people and the processes, again. So one of the things we have to figure out how to keep our kids here, first of all. The second thing, businesses. We need to have opportunities to support businesses. Businesses, they start and they go out of business because they don't have the support. In my experience as a business consultant, what happens if a person doesn't get that personalized approach and support they need to start their business, they get discouraged very easily. They get very discouraged. So then the business is closed. So when that business is closed, nobody's buying those services, products or services. So again, we're losing out on revenue. So we have to be able to support our college students here to find out what can keep them home so they will stay here and spend and be a part of our community.
Thank you. Our next question is an even number rebuttal question. This is for Mr. Guidry. Many residents feel the quality of life in Terrebonne Parish is simply not up to par when compared to surrounding communities or places that they visit or see on friends' Facebook profiles. As parish president, what are your top 3 quality of life projects?
Well, as a councilman, I began the first series of bike paths in Terrebonne Parish. We're not bike pedestrian friendly in Terrebonne Parish. It's very dangerous. We're actually building a 12-foot wide bike path that is breaking ground next month from the Civic Center, which will go all the way to the sports park. We need to build that network throughout Terrebonne Parish. We also need to finish what the master plan is as a sports park, but not only that, we need to add a sister a project in the air base. And we need to take that sports park and make it big enough so we can make sure that it's big enough for the larger tournaments. If we're really going to compete in that, we need to look at both of those. But as far as, quality of life, we also have our levees that we're building. There's discussion about taking our levees and turning them into trails so that way we could have hiking trails. I remember when I attended the National Association of Counties in Denver, they were talking about the trails that they do through the mountains. Well, why can't we have trails through our bayous and waterways? So I think some of our levees maybe can be converted into trails. We could also attract hikers. I think they have a big, good quality of life. We have to use the things that we have in Terrebonne Parish. We can't bring mountains to Terrebonne Parish like they have in Colorado, but we've got waterways, and we need to use those waterways. I think we can improve those so that way we have a quality of life in Terrebonne Parish, and I intend to invest in that. Thank you.
Any rebuttals on this topic? Ms. Smith?
Quality of life thing for me revolves around mental health addiction services here. We have to improve upon that for our people. Again, people are suffering in that area. I talk to a lot of the providers here, and I think we need to start a committee, more or less, of mental health providers, addiction services professionals, people that are in recovery as well, and of course, citizens again. But we need to make sure that we can take care of that for quality of life in Terrebonne Parish. Because if we have people that are suffering from mental health or addiction as a result of, right now, fentanyl is running rampant through our community. So again, some of these things that we may think about and They seemed like really good suggestions at the time, but I'm trying to think about the now. Some of the things may be down the line. Of course, with strategic thinking, some things going to be 1 to 5 years that we may get done, but some of these things going to have to be a now situation and concerns that's important to the citizens of Terrebonne Parish. For everyone, fentanyl, when I'm out in them canvases, I've talked to families all the time that has been affected by fentanyl, death, even in death, some of our young folks. So we have to make sure that we can address that. And community centers are at the top of my list as well. Community centers, in terms of research, they are successful. People will go out and utilize those centers within their communities, whether it's to learn robotics, to learn programming, or other opportunities, even for our seniors. You know, teaching them how to open emails and
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chauvin's hand first. Go ahead. When you're rebuttal, Mr. Chauvin.
Yeah, well, my quality of life is being killed by that clock right there. I'm a very passionate person, and I can't do it within 90 seconds. I'll be honest with you. I'm very, very, very uncomfortable up here. You don't know the real me by listening to me for 90 seconds. But the people in Terrebonne Parish, as I walk around the streets, and I've never done this before, but they're despondent. They're unhappy. They're unhappy with the politics. They're unhappy with the wasteful spending. They're unhappy with everything that's been going on. The way of life is being taken away from them because of politics, mismanagement of money. Everything that we do has to be done for the people. The government has the wrong role. The politicians think we work for them, that we work for them. We don't work for them, they work for us. They get in there and they sit in their fat positions and they dictate policy, whether the people like it or not. And the people are frustrated with this. The common, ordinary person does not want this to happen anymore. Honesty, fairness, equality, justice, simple things, but very complicated to implement in a political system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chauvin. I know we had a few hands on rebuttals. Mr. LaRussa.
You want it? Yeah. Go do it.
Kind of y'all at the same time. So, Ms. Berg, go ahead.
Yes, quality of life is a major concern. We need to have more reasons for people to stay here and raise a family. We need more recreation for our children. Another sports park on the airbase would be wonderful. That way we'd have both sides covered. I have also thought of, I had this idea the other night that Town Hall has been for sale for 20 years. Nobody wants to buy that building. They rent it out, they have offices, but for some reason they can't keep anybody in there. Well, I was thinking, why don't we have an indoor amusement park? The infrastructure's there, the building's there, the parking lot's there. When we lived in Arkansas, we weren't far from Branson, and they have a plethora of activities that they do indoors, so you don't have to worry if it's raining or storming outside. The kids can go in there. They have arcades. They have mountain climbing. That building is huge. You could have so many different options in that one building for kids to go and recreate. So I think that would be, it's within walking distance for inner city kids. The American Bank building is also for sale. You could put a movie theater there where people could actually walk like we used to do back in the old days when the movie theater was downtown. You could walk to the movie theater. It could be some kind of top-notch thing with the latest and greatest technology.
Thank you, Ms. Berg.
You're welcome.
Next rebuttal, Mr. LaRussa.
Quality of life is a big, broad topic. Number one, we need to expand programs for recreation all over the parish, but we need to include our seniors. We have these gyms open all around the parish, all over, and we open during the middle of the day. Our seniors can have programs in there, and that would be a TPR issue. Number two, we need a beautification process program. Just a little landscaping goes a long ways, and not just downtown, not just on Tunnel, in the bayou areas also. The last thing is one of my pet peeves, and I think this is one of the biggest quality of life projects we could do. We need to expand parish-wide sewage. Going in these rural areas, the poorer areas, they have raw sewage in their ditches. It's a health concern. It is a health safety factor, and from day one, we're going to meet with the sewer department, and we can figure out how are we going to expand parish-wide sewage in the rural areas. That is a big quality of life. Go ride down there, people. It is unbelievable. You smell it, and you expect everything to be nice and beautiful in the city. It's the rural areas we have to worry about. That is a big concern for me, and that would be one of my biggest projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bacheron, rebuttal?
About 3 months ago, the parish held a mental health expo at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, and nobody showed up. And in the conversations about why, it was real obvious to me. It's because we're expecting people to come to the Civic Center on a weekday to work on mental health. And so that's where I vowed at that time to create a community outreach department. On average, a council person deals with about 12,000 people, and a council person's job is part-time. So I want to put people within the parish, maybe start with 1 or 2, eventually work to have 1 person per council district, where they go into the community, they understand what issues they have, because quality of life to one person might be that their ditch isn't getting cut, and quality of life to another person might be drugs. The leading cause of death for those under 55 is fentanyl. So when you address the drug issue, the crime issue, economic disadvantage, trash, all those issues, and you figure out what each community needs, you bring resources to each one of those communities, then you help change quality of life for what's important for each resident and what's close to them. Thank you.
Any more rebuttals on this question? All right, seeing no furthers, we're going to take another brief commercial break. We paid the lights with the first one. This one's for the heating and air. We'll be right back.
I'm Robert Allen. I'm running for state senate because I believe we can build a better Louisiana for the next generation. I intend to use what I've learned as a farmer, an entrepreneur, and as a father to keep our traditional values at the forefront. I will work to make insurance more affordable, support our law enforcement, and grow our economy. I'm Robert Allen, and I'm asking for your vote because I know we can build a better future for your children and mine.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
I'm Darren Guidry. I'm a conservative, a lifelong Republican, and a candidate for parish president. 8 years on the Terrebonne Parish Council, 8 years on the Terrebonne Levy and Conservation District, and 6 years on the Terrebonne Economic Development Authority. This is the proven experience I bring as your parish president to start working for you on day one. Please vote Darren Guidry, parish president in October, so I can go to work for you.
You gotta try this. And some of those. Ooh, and definitely that. You won't be disappointed, but just know you can only get it here. Up and down Louisiana's Cajun Bayou in Lafourche Parish. Y'all come visit? We're just 35 miles south of New Orleans. Hungry? Let's eat!
It's not about the flood. It's the flood insurance premiums crushing our families. When premiums are higher than mortgages, how can we rebuild when no one can afford to live here? Flood insurance programs should be priced appropriately, based on actual risk. Our new levy systems are working. Insurers need to reduce premiums based on the facts and stop jacking their profits and deserting us.
Michael Paul LaRussa, fighting big insurance to save our parish.
Welcome back. I'm pleased to report the bills have been paid and we have another 45 minutes of forum coming your way. Question number 7 is a down the line question starting with Mr. Chauvin. By many estimates, housing in our area is unaffordable to residents and there is a growing concern for the homeless population in Terrebonne. What are your specific plans to address the community need for affordable housing?
That's 2 questions. That's affordable housing and homeless. Affordable housing, I think we've talked about it before, it's just insurance, as LaRussa said. But without fixing the possibility of our insurance rates, affordable housing is going to be nil. The housing market, I believe the interest rate right now to borrow money is 7.5%. So go try to borrow some money. Housing market is down terrible. I found that out today. The homelessness. I upset a few people last time at another forum about homelessness, but I have 2 children that I adopted that are homeless. And it's a way of life, believe it or not. I upset a lady because she said that homeless families, okay, see, I'm running out of time already. Homeless families are one thing, but homeless children, let me tell you something. I had 2 children. I can only speak for my 2 children. They don't want to be any other way. They want to be homeless. I can't believe it. But that's a way of life. And it's because we have allowed it to happen as parents. I'm not saying I'm a bad parent, but I don't know what you would do. The parents of good children are homeless. Go figure. I don't understand it at all. But my children, 2 of them, are homeless because they want to be.
Time. Ms. Berg, same question.
Repeat it?
Sure. By many estimates, housing in our area is unaffordable to residents, and there is a growing concern for the homeless population. What are your specific plans to address the community need for affordable housing?
Gotcha. Yeah, I would like to see more duplexes being built. I think we need smaller housing, a smaller housing footprint. The big, huge houses, you can't have a population that can afford all of those houses. Most people don't make that kind of money. They'll never be able to afford a house like that. An average income person, a middle-sized or medium-sized home is fine. They don't need the big mansions like they call them. So we need to build more housing in that level. I think duplexes would be a great incentive for the elderly. They want to get out of their houses. They don't want their big houses anymore, but there's no place for them to go. So I think if they had a smaller place that they could buy and have, they would move on to those places. Someone mentioned to me the other day that they said they see where you could have an elderly person on one side and a young family on the other side. And that way they could look out for each other. The young could look out for the old and the old could help the young. And I don't want to see another housing project built. That I'd rather see them give out vouchers for people to go and rent homes in established neighborhoods. I don't like the idea of a group of people being labeled as Section 8
Time.
housing.
Thank you. Mr. LaRussa, same question.
First of all, we do have a housing crisis in Terrebonne. I think the last number we found out, we have over 800 families still in FEMA trailers with nowhere to go. The Terrebonne Housing Authority we have no control over the housing authority other than the appointments on the board. I don't think they're going to rebuild the high rise. I have no clue what they're going to do with Senator Circle. What are we going to do with our citizens? They're born and raised in Terrebonne. They have FEMA vouchers right now. They can go anywhere in the state and they still choose to be in here. We have to address that, number one. How are we going to handle that? We have a lot of grant money coming in and we can do stuff like that. HUD does not do group housing anymore. They do not do, they do mixed use housing, and that's their philosophy, and I don't think HUD's going to rebuild it. Number two, the homeless. Houston in 2001, since 2011, Houston has reduced their homeless rate by a program by 63%. 50% of the towns in this country have a program to address homeless. In the first year of the administration, we will send a task force to Houston, and we will find out the ins and out of their program and how it was successful. And after the first year, I want Terrebonne Parish to be in that 50% that have a plan to address the homeless.
Tom.
Thank you.
Mr. Planus Prather.
Thank you. And our homeless community is definitely an issue, and for housing for them is definitely a concern. The only housing for our homeless right now, we have a facility on the east side called the bunkhouse. And really, the bunkhouse right now needs to actually be put in a different spot and not where it is with residents. As far as our homeless, we need a facility that can rehabilitate them and get them back on their feet. But like Mr. Chauvin said, Mr. Roy said, that most of the homeless do want to be on the streets. They have tried. I've talked to a employee of the parish, and they have vouchers. They have different incentives for them to rehabilitate, but what they do is they still want to go on the streets. Also, we have a great homeless community within our veterans. I will get with the Veterans Administration. They have 4 facilities within the state of Louisiana that are their veteran communities. It's a community house for veterans where it's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and even their families can be there, as well as our senior communities. We can have that for our seniors to where they don't want to be in the larger homes. They'd rather be in a smaller community within themselves to have other activities to where they can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
So as it relates to affordable housing, I guess what comes to mind for me is affordable housing. So when you think about affordability, what's affordable for me or for you, it may differ. But the difference is wages. We have to get back. We want to try to come up with these very simple answers to some very complex situations here in our communities, in society in general. So it's not about the affordable housing. Let's think about the wages. So we have to go back again and see what industries we have and what they're paying these people. Because it'd be easy for you to afford a house if you got the correct wages, right? The second thing in terms of homelessness, I actually have a lot of experience in working in homelessness. No, it wasn't in Texas, it was in Philadelphia. So I work with housing veterans in supportive housing programs, HUD-VASH, which is Section 8 for veterans. But what are my approach just for citizens, not just for veterans? It's just start by implementing SROs, single room occupancy, at least for single veterans to immediately get them off the streets. It won't house families immediately. We can work toward that. But I think working toward that, we have to start to find funding sources. We're talking about a lot of these things as if money doesn't matter. Money does matter. So we have to be diligent about finding sources for these things that need to happen in terms of our homeless community and affordable housing. But I think affordable housing goes back to wages. We have to make sure that we're paying people the appropriate wages in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron, same question.
So when we talk post-Ida, We actually have close to 1,100 families that are not living in their homes between a state program and a federal program. The state programs are the RVs of the wheels, the trailers, the mobile homes of the federal program. And so now look at, how can we do something differently? How can we do something that nobody's ever done before? So we have a struggling fisheries industry. Why can't we get those group of people, create an employee-owned small home manufacturing company, and we have them have part of the ownership to where they build housing that we need, they get to learn a skill that can do something that's maybe not shrimping, and hopefully that comes back at some point. But we give them a hand up, and then we start manufacturing homes. Everything from something you could build to a 3D printed home out of concrete. Then we're teaching skills, we're teaching people to do things. And what happens when a hurricane hits in Florida and a hurricane hits in Texas? We can then be the leader that goes set up those homes. Now, when it comes to homelessness, I'm not gonna wait till January. As part of forming the Downtown Business Association, the business owners felt that homelessness was a major issue downtown. So we brought Store Corporation, a Sassy House, and we brought all the groups together that deal with that problem into a room and had a conversation. And through that process, started hiring 2 part-time people to start case management to figure out what issues the people that are homeless are dealing with so we can help them get back on their feet and fix that issue. Thank you.
And our last candidate on this question, Mr. Guidry.
Homelessness is a major problem in Terrebonne Parish. You know, walking neighborhoods, knocking on doors, sometimes I don't know which doors to knock on because they'll have campers, travel trailers. Do you knock on the house? And I'm surprised that when I see a travel trailer there, 9 chances out of 10, they're not in their house. They're in the travel trailer. A lot of them just don't have the money to fix up their house. They didn't have insurance. They're staying in the travel trailer. Their house can be fixed up, but they just don't have the money. I want to work together with nonprofits so that way we can seek out the funds that can perhaps repair these people home, get them in their homes. And we have 2 programs. We have Habitat for Humanity, Options for Independence, we work with several times. You know, they actually build homes, repair homes, sell them at a reduced price, and then the money they receive, they build new homes. I think a lot of our NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are going to be the key to, I think, some of the homelessness problems that don't qualify for the federal program. The federal HUD program, we need to get people coming in and investing in properties that qualify for these Section 8 vouchers that the federal government's going to be handing out. So it's going to be a cooperation among investors and non-governmental organizations as well as local government. But we need to start working on that January 1 because our people are in dire straits.
Thank you. On to question 8 for Ms. Berg. Between COVID, Hurricane Ida, and current inflationary environment, Terrebonne's small business community has faced many headwinds over the last 5 years. What action and/or programs would you undertake to give support specifically to the small businesses of Terrebonne Parish?
Okay. Well, they do have the Small Business Administration that people can apply for. And as a previous owner of a small business downtown, we did what we had to do to stay alive. We tightened our belt, we did what we had to do, and we made it. We got no assistance from anybody, and we survived. So I think if you're going to be a business owner, you have to be pretty well you're going to have to work hard to make it. The federal government, the state, the parish, and everything else, you can't expect them to take care of you every time the winds change. You have to be able to run your own business. So I'm all about helping business, but I expect people to help themselves. And if you have a business, it's your job to run that business and make sure it works. It's not up for us to hand you money just because you can't seem to run your business. I'm sorry. We had hard times. We had to go weeks without a paycheck sometimes, but you make it up. You find other things to try and make your business work. We've never asked for money from the government or the parish. They never offered us a dime to keep our business running. And our business was a dinosaur. It was a full-service gas station. How many of those you see around?
Time. This is a rebuttal question, and Mr. Bergeron, I believe you go ahead. Your rebuttal, sir.
So as a graduate of Leadership Terrebonne, Leadership Louisiana, 10,000 small business that's put on by Goldman Sachs, different organizations and programs, Louisiana Economic Development CEO Roundtable, of which I'm a mentor of. We got to help business owners, and they got to understand that they have to take the time to work on their business and not in their business. The difference between working on and working in is preparing for the future and figuring out how you can do things. If you ask every business owner in Terrebonne Parish what their biggest problem is, it's employees, finding and keeping employees. But a lot of times when I go into companies and help them resolve their issues, it's because the owner isn't taking the time to make sure that employees are set up for success and holding them accountable and empowering them. And then you have the opportunities to bring in technology when it fits and automate processes that in turn, you could take a person and save 2 hours a day and let them work on something else. So getting a company structure together, when a company implements software, I've found that if they don't have their structure together, most software implementations fail, take longer, or cost more. Just by getting structure into a company, set employees up to be successful, we've been able to get implementations of software that help businesses be more successful to a completion percent of 80% instead of 50%. So given the tools, having business roundtables that are industry specific, company size specific, there's a ways that you can make an immediate impact inside a company starting today and working with TITA to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Guidry, your rebuttal, sir.
Yeah, it used to be a company would locate in Terrebonne Parish and would hope to get enough business in Terrebonne that they could support that business. The whole dynamics have changed, especially with the invention of the internet. Small cottage businesses sell all over the world, and they can do that from Terrebonne Parish. So we need to help small businesses transition into that arena. And we also have a lot of younger professionals that were, maybe not working as a result of COVID. A lot of them are starting their own small cottage businesses. The only problem with having customers that aren't necessarily in Terrebonne Parish is they're not locked into Terrebonne Parish. They can locate anywhere. Same thing with some employees today that are working over the computer and not coming into the office. So we need to make sure Terrebonne Parish is a place that people want to live, which means we have to clean the litter off the streets. We have to repair our roads. We have to fix our infrastructure, right? We also need to lower our costs, which includes our insurance. So we need to work together with our legislative delegation. We need to try to improve Terrebonne Parish. If we don't, we're not going to improve the local businesses. They're not going to get the employees. And those small businesses that can open anywhere, they're not going to open here. So they need to know that Terrebonne Parish will have a government moving forward that's going to achieve this. And my ask to them is just give me time. Please stay here so we can repair Terrebonne Parish, make it a place that you want to live and work because you have a choice. I know that.
Thank you. Any more rebuttals? All right, seeing no further, we will move on to our 9th question. And candidates, this will likely be our final question of the forum. And it is a down the line question, being it's odd numbered. And it is first answer, Mr. LaRussa. What is your opinion of the current state of Terrebonne Parish's infrastructure? And as parish president, what are your plans to address infrastructure needs and what would be your priority?
As far as roads go, we have a lot of state highways. Let's get that straight. You can start naming them. Every bayou is a state highway tunnel, MLK, Lafayette, Barrow. And we do not have the resources to take care of the state's problems also. Number 2, I would love to double, if not, the road crews on changing panels on parish roads. And one thing I think we need to do a better job of is telling the people what roads we change on a regular basis. If you don't see it, you don't believe it's done, I think we have to have a little bit better transparency of showing people what's actually getting done on a daily basis. As far as the state roads, that's what we hear the most of. If anybody's gone down to Lil Caillou right past High Rollers, I've seen speed humps in subdivisions lower than that patch job that the state did on that highway. It's horrible. And I've talked to the chamber, I've talked to SCIA, and when these governor candidates come down, you hold them to the fire because those are the ones that control DOTD. For the public, they need to realize it's not a district, it's not New Orleans. DOTD answers to one person. It's the governor. And we need to address that, and we need to build relationships with the state to get them to handle the state roads.
Time. Ms. Prather, same question.
Thank you. Of course, my priority is roads and bridges. And we don't have enough crews, I would say, in the parish working on our roads and our cutting of our grass and our vegetation. So I would plan to have 4 crews on the east side and 4 crews on the west side so we can get these roads fixed, the sidewalks fixed, the curbs fixed, and take care of that infrastructure. Because the people that come into the parish that want to do business in the parish, they see the condition of it. The roads are like a roller coaster. They're horrible, they're deplorable, and they need to be taken care of. That is the first thing. Then, and it's looking like a third world country, and we have to look better to attract more people to come here. Also, sewage, water, air quality, all those are quality of life and part of our infrastructure. We have to make sure that, like it was said before, that our rural areas do have sewage and also water quality, and of course with all the fires with the air quality. So we got to make sure that that is good. City power plant and utilities and gas. We have to make sure everyone has that, and maintaining our parish buildings and cleaning up the entire parish, and drainage and vegetation. Those infrastructures are.
Time.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith, same question.
All right, so in terms of the infrastructure, right? So one of the things I did, I went on the Terrebonne Parish website. So I pulled up the roads and bridges, and I noticed it was like 56 personnel, I think, that's assigned to that department. And so I started to look at all of the roles and responsibilities for that department. It was plenty. It was actually very overwhelming for the thought of so few people having such a big responsibility. So one of the things that I would have to consider is, do they have enough personnel? Number one. Number two, the personnel that they do have, are they properly trained to do the job? Number three, is that some ingenuity? Talking with the director of that program, finding out if there's some new innovative ways to do our roads a lot faster, quicker, and safer, of course, as well. In terms of the vegetation in the bayou, definitely drainage is big. I was at a restaurant recently, and I tell the story all the time, so if you heard it before, just bear with me. But I went to have dinner at a restaurant here locally, and it was near the bayou side. So I asked a young lady, was the sandbags there as a result of Hurricane Ida? And she said, no, ma'am, they've been here because every time it rains, it floods in her business. So drainage is a priority. And I'm a bayou girl. I grew up on Gibson. You know, I grew up eating out the bayous, swimming in the bayou, and I got baptized in the bayou. So I'm a bayou girl through and through. So I would like to see that change immediately in terms of vegetation and drainage around our bayous, because it caused the flooding. Thank you.
Mr. Bergeron, same question.
So this is a topic that me and the rest of the politicians disagree on, and I love it, in fact, because I'm all about doing things differently. So I'm the one that's talked about DOT district being our own district. We're a sub-district. We scraps from New Orleans, and how we should take some money that I'm going to find in the efficiencies in government and take over Martin Luther King and put a median. To me, how many lives does it cost to wait on DOTD to come up and finish their safety study? Because they've been working on a study for a long time. Sounds familiar? Some of the levees, right? So I look and say, I'm going to find the money in government. We're going to take over that road to start. We're going to push to be our own DOT district, and we're going to make sure that roads are safe. How many lives does it have to cost us before we realize? When I have a conversation with DOTD, they think we should be our own district. When I have a conversation about projects that are going on, and the hump that my father-in-law broke his axle on his broke trailer right there in front of the airbase, and then somebody did the following week, how much property has to break? How many lives does it have to possibly cost? Safety is most important. And I also look at doing something different, creating a fourth path over the intercoastal, tying in the road industrial into Barrow Street. That's something that's going to alleviate traffic. That's something that we can handle and manage ourselves by doing capital outlay. I want to make sure that our residents have safe infrastructure, that we don't have to worry about dying every time you drive to go get something to eat on Martin Luther King. And I feel like that's what's important to take care of.
Thank you. Mr. Guidry, same question.
Well, yeah, taking over state roads and using your parish dollars to do them is conceding defeat with the state of Louisiana. I'm not going to do that. I worked together with my legislators and we fixed Highway 311 when it was crumbled and falling apart. We can fix the rest of our roads. You know, I attend the Police Jury Association of Louisiana conferences every year. And when I speak to some of the other police jurors in the other parishes, they talk about how great our levees and pumps are and how much money we got out of the state. We got our unfair share of pumps and drainage. And I say, yes, but have you seen our roads? You know, and it's always a trade-off. If you get a lot of capital outlay that goes to your pumps and drainage, you get less capital outlay for your roads. So we're going to shift gears. We still need to do our pumps and drainage, but we're going to do it more in a marathon than a sprint. And we're going to go after money to fix and repair our roads. We also going to be part of the process to make sure we control how it's done. I want to have these contracts put in place that they have an incentive to get them done quick. There's no reason it should take 4 or 5 years for the Berg Bridge to be built. So we need to, build our roads. We also need to do them very quickly, and the state needs to pay for them. We also need to look at expanding our sewer. I do agree. Our sewer plant's at 25% capacity. We need to do that, but we need to do it in a way that people don't have to pay to connect, because they won't if they have to pay to connect. So we need to do that. We need to expand our sewer. We need to harden our utilities by running them underground. You know, these are just a few of the infrastructure things.
Thank you. Mr. Chauvin, same question.
Infrastructure is riddled with politics and wasted monies. If anybody looked at the capital outlay that's been handed to us by a senator sent it to me, and we're going to dredge the ship channel. We're going to spend $40 million to dredge the ship channel. Okay, that's fine. I didn't see a penny for roads, not a penny. Maybe I don't understand the system, but I ain't stupid, and the people ain't stupid either. They don't understand the system, but everybody's calling them stupid. But the capital outlay program is riddled with good old boy tactics. Now, you go down the bar and say, yeah, we're going to dredge the ship channel, $40 million we're going to use for that. Well, what about my speed bump road all the way down to Bar Lodge? You know, how do you rationalize? How do you get the people to understand that? We don't get the people to understand because there is no understanding. It's wrong. The system is wrong. We need to spend money where we need it. And I'm sorry, ship channel may be a priority for the shipping industry or for New York or whatever, but it's not a priority for the local people. They do not understand this political system. They do not understand us at all. And we're just trying to shove it down their throat, and they ain't buying it no more. They're bucking, and the revolution is coming.
Thank you. And our final candidate on the question, Ms. Berg.
Thank you. Yes, cleaning up this parish is a passion of mine. I want to clean this parish. Those ditches need to be dug. The bayous need to be dredged. We need to beautify this parish. It's long overdue. You hear about it all the time, but I never see it. I never see it go into action. Or I'll see something, they try to do something, but they don't do it completely. They just, like we say, pass a lick, okay? They'll cut some grass, but they won't weed eat. Or they'll dig a ditch, but they won't unblock the culvert. It's like, if you're gonna do a job, do it right. Don't just do it halfway. Do it right the first time, and we'll get a lot further faster. This parish is deplorable when you come into it. We look like a third world country. People don't realize they took Highway 90 out of Houma. There's no reason for people to come to Houma. They took the railroads out a long time ago. That was a way of transportation. They've taken 90 out of Houma. So there's no reason for people to come here unless they want to come here. We have the world's greatest fishing here. You talk to a charter fisherman and ask them, what do tourists say when they come in? You ask them what they think about Terrebonne Parish. And their first response is, what's wrong with these people? It's so trashy. That's the reputation we have, and we need to clean it up.
Time. Thank you, Ms. Berg, and thank you, candidates. That concludes our questions, and we'll now go into closings. The way we're going to do these is we're going to basically pick up in the order we left on the questions. So our first closing for the evening will be with chair number 3, Ms. Krista Duplantis Prather.
First of all, I want to thank everyone that came out tonight. and thank the Chamber and also Martin for having it here at HTV. I am Krista Duplantis-Prather. I am the only candidate that has the most experience. As your parish president, I will listen to each and every person in the parish from every culture and listen to what y'all want in this parish. I will work with the 9 council members, not 3, not 5, not 2, all 9. Hear their priorities for their districts and get those projects done. I have listened for a long time in this parish, and I've heard all of you, and I know what to do. We need to take our tax dollars and put them where they need to be, in projects. We need to be more accountable. And I want to tell everyone this is a very important vote for our community, for Terrebonne Parish. Make sure you get out and vote. You have that right. Get out and vote. Voice your opinion. We the people, we tell government what to do. Government does not tell us what to do. So get out and vote so you can tell government what we need to do here in Terrebonne Parish. Thank you, and vote number 68. Krista Duplantis-Prather, your next parish president. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next closing, Ms. Aranda Smith.
So we talk a lot about tonight what we don't have here in Terrebonne Parish, but I'm excited about the things that we do have. I'm actually excited about the opportunity to becoming the next parish president. I want to bring that energy to you and reduce the apathy in our community. So this is an exciting time for me to be in this position to run for parish president. One of the things I want to say, I talked a lot about people and processes. I have a lot of leadership experience. I've served on boards, board chair, ran organizations. I've done it all. But most importantly, me, I love people. I love people. I enjoy working with people, and I want to see people thrive. I want to see community thrive, because we're able to thrive if we work together collaborative. I can't say that enough. What got us here won't get us there. I'll say that again. Because we have to create an effort where nonprofits engage, because there's funding that nonprofits will be able to get here to help our communities thrive and grow that government can't do, or businesses. So we have to get in a posture where we're willing to work together and unite in our community across communities. I mean, Montague, Gibson, wherever your communities are, we have to learn to unite in our community. So I'm excited about this opportunities. I hope you guys are excited as well. My name is Aranda Smith. I'm a United States Army veteran. I'm a thinker. I'm an Ivy League graduate, so I think a lot. I'm just not going to throw things out there without research most of the time. Thank you. Number 73.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Bergeron.
I decided to run because I felt a calling for it in my heart. It's what our parish needed. And as I've been going through the last 20 years and watching our community die, and just knowing and seeing other communities have died before us, I just felt like I had to make a difference. I don't know anybody. I'm the political outsider. When it comes to experience and leadership, which is what the parish president needs, it's going to be hard to match the leadership experience that I bring to the table. Nobody up here has been a parish president before. Nobody up here has experienced being a parish president. But I tell you, I've been involved with policy at the local, state, and federal level for 2 decades now, because I wanted to do it, because I just felt it needed to be done. Not when I was thinking about running for office and all this other stuff. I've always given back to the community, and I've always stepped up, found a need, and fixed it. In situations where I even created an Alzheimer's board, because we didn't have one. Because I lost my mom and my grandma to Alzheimer's. I lost my mom to cancer. I led the Relay for Life board, led, president, head of the organization, making decisions, changing the budget, changing the bylaws, doing everything I could to help make every organization I've been a part of more successful and grow and achieve new things. My company in the downturn of oil and gas was one of the top 5,000 fastest growing companies in America. I'd like to see if anybody else could match that leadership experience. Jason Bergeron, number 64, voteforjason.com.
Time. Mr. Guidry, you're closing.
Well, yeah, I'd like to thank the Chamber, HTV, and more importantly, you for watching and taking part in this process. Experience, leadership, and more importantly, hard work. I mean, that's what I will give you as Terrebonne Parish President. I answer my phone. I answer my phone as a councilman, and I intend to answer my phone as a parish president. You know, there's two people who run for political office. I found that there's the people who run to rule. If you want a permit, you have to come to me. And there's those that run to serve. And I've always vowed to be the latter. I work for you, and I'll never forget that. You know, so if you believe that our economy needs improvement, vote Darren Guidry. If you believe our roads need to be repaired, vote Darren Guidry. If you believe our insurance rates, the parish needs to do whatever they can to help lower those insurance rates, vote Darren Guidry. If you believe blight in our community is bad, vote Darren Guidry. If you believe our homes still need protection from flooding, vote Darren Guidry. If you believe our seafood industry needs help, vote Darren Guidry. I promise I will work hard, and I promise I will be your parish president. Please vote Darren Guidry, number 71. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chauvin, your closing.
Ooh, after you said that, I believe I'm going to vote for Darren Guidry. I don't know. Oh, well, I got to let y'all know that these forums, I'm new to this. I'm 73 years old. I'm not used to keeping my mouth shut. And these forums are really not seeing Roy Chauvin. I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to see Roy Chauvin, you got to meet him one-on-one with all the people I've been meeting with out in the street. We might spend an hour together, I don't know, but people like to talk and they like to get their frustrations out. Roy Chauvin represents honesty, fairness, and justice for everyone. Not politically favorable. I'm the political underdog, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to change that. I'm 73 years old. I refuse to change for a vote or prostitute my convictions for a vote. I believe that I can be a very good parish president. Sure, you're going to fumble. And sure, you're going to hear political rhetoric. And sure, you're not going to help everybody that wants to get help. But all you can do is say, I'm going to try. And none of us have the experience. That's right, as a parish president. But what I have is compassion. Compassion for poor people, the elderly, which we don't talk about. See, there's a lot of topics I didn't get to talk about. And I wanted to talk about them. And I'm looking at the edge of the clock. I turned it the other way. There's the time.
Time. Ms. Berg, your closing.
All right. Yes, I am very passionate about Terrebonne Parish, and that's why I'm running for parish president. I've been going around the parish, cleaning up on my own, taking it upon myself to try and clean up Terrebonne Parish. And I saw where I could make a difference. I am a breath of fresh air. I'm not a political person. This is the first office I ever run for in my life, all right? So I have no political experience, but I have a mouth, and I'm not afraid to use it. I will fight for this parish for whatever it takes to get it going. I'm not afraid to get out there and work. I'm not going to be sitting in no office up there. I can promise you that. I'll be on the road looking for my crews, where they're working and how they're working. I like things done a certain way, and I want it that way. That's it. You're going to do it right, or you're not going to do it at all. I want to see this parish progress. I have nothing but time on my hands. My husband and I are both retired. We both love this parish. We came back home to be in this parish, and I don't want to see it go down the drain while I'm here. I want to see it flourish, and I want to make everybody have the same passion that I have for Terrebonne Parish. I want our workers to be enthusiastic about working for Terrebonne Parish. I want to see them have the same pride and leadership for Terrebonne Parish, that they'll do a great job.
Thank you. And our final closing this evening, Mr. LaRussa.
First of all, I want to thank the Chamber, Nick, Martin, HTV, but I also want to thank everyone on this panel. Everyone on this panel chose to run because they have one thing in common. They care about this parish, and there's no denying, and it's very admirable putting your name up, and I want to thank y'all. Number two, we have some big challenges ahead of us. We are at a tipping point of this parish. With not electing the right leadership, we can fall back ages, and all the work we've done went to waste. One thing, if I win, my administration will be about listening, honesty, transparency, and execution. I'm a uniter. I'll unite the shrimpers, the shipyards. We need to fight, and we need to scream, and we need to fix our insurance industry. This is our number one tackle. We cannot grow our parish. We cannot do anything unless the insurance, we get relief. But we have one bite at this apple on this federal money that's coming in. And with my real estate background, with our development background, I think we need to utilize our connections that we have in Baton Rouge, Washington, and we only have one shot at making this right. Elect Michael Paul LaRussa, number 72, Parish President, and thank y'all.
Thank you, candidates. I would like to thank you all for your participation this evening, and for HTV for allowing us to host the Terrebonne Parish President Forum here in the Lorraine Falls studios today. To everyone in attendance tonight and those watching online and on television, the voters of Terrebonne Parish, we thank you for your time and hope you have found this evening informative and helpful for your decision this October. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless.